When you push off the dock in the Volvo Ocean Race, it's a different world. You're on your own, no one can come help you.
Just getting to the start line in this race can be the biggest challenge in itself.
Ollie, I can't believe this. I can't actually believe this happened.
Ground-breaking rule change in one of sailing's biggest races to boost the number of women taking part.
Go straight! Hey!
I've done the race my entire adult career, and I've never won it.
Today, the adventure begins. The opening event of the Volvo Ocean Race 2017-18. For the 7 teams taking part, the next 8 months will test them in every way. Their skill, their commitment, their mental and physical fortitude, their ability to overcome everything that the world's oceans can throw at them. The race carved its reputation in the Southern Ocean among the furious winds and mountainous seas, and it returns there in a big way this edition, diving into the deep south from Cape Town to Melbourne, and again in the long, isolated leg from Auckland around the infamous Cape Horn. It's billed as the toughest test of a team in sport. The 13th edition will consist of 45,000 miles, 12 legs visiting 11 cities, all-out war on the water, scrapping for any advantage, racing in boats that are identical in every way. Only the crew, their determination, their willingness to push harder than their competition will make the difference between losing and winning. Entire careers have been devoted to achieving victory in the Volvo Ocean Race, but this is not for prize money. The payoff, the adventure, and the glory of adding their name to the list of legends that have come before.
Welcome to Alicante, home of the Volvo Ocean Race. For the 4th consecutive edition, the eyes of the sailing world are focused on Alicante, on Spain's famous Costa Blanca. Thousands of race fans have spent the past week flooding through the race village, mixing with the teams in pit lane, meeting their sailing heroes and absorbing the challenge ahead. With 10 years of hosting and another 2 editions in the future, Alicante is keeping the Volvo Ocean Race close to its heart. The MAPFRE In-Port Race in Alicante offers the first points of the 2017-18 Volvo Ocean Race. With short legs and plenty of mark roundings, action is guaranteed when these ocean-going yachts are forced to race around a tiny course. Points are accumulated at each stopover around the world, and tie breaks for the overall trophy are decided using the rankings of the in-port results. The last edition saw just such a scenario on the final leg of the last in-port race when MAPFRE and Alba Medica were tied. MAPFRE taking the extra points and jumping 1 place overall to 4th. Crowds flock to watch the teams head down to the dockside. The months of build-up is over. The first real start line of the Volvo Ocean Race awaits them just metres from the seawall here in Alicante. As they head out to the race, let's take a closer look at the teams attempting to write their names into sailing history.
Let's go.
Dongfeng race team were a surprise hit in the last race, despite including a handful of Chinese rookies with virtually no sailing experience.
Bit of a smile.
This time, skipper Giles Cordrelia has 3 Chinese sailors back as part of an ace crew, boasting more experience, and they're pumped up. For Dongfeng, team building is a serious business. Cordrelia desperately wants to become the 3rd French winner, and after coming so close last time, he's leaving nothing to chance. Like Dongfeng, MAPFRE tick all the boxes. Their squad is packed with Olympic medals and America's Cup wins. Skipper Xavi Fernandez has 2 of those medals himself, and his clear goal is to give Spain a first ever win in the race. Next up, Avestis 11th Hour Racing. They're on a crusade and on a roll. American duo Charlie Enright and Mark Towell are back to head the team after grabbing a victory on the final leg of the last edition. Avestis return after their incredible comeback story last time when they hit a reef and wrecked their boat. And thanks to the backing of 11th Hour Racing, this campaign is a platform to promote ocean health. Turn the Tide on Plastic also carry an environmental message. They feature the race's only female skipper in Dee Kafari, an ocean racing legend who became the first person to sail solo, non-stop around the world in both directions. Yes, it's a thing. She has a fully mixed male-female team, mostly made up of young sailors.
I'm ready for everything, mate.
Okay. One intriguing battle pits two Dutch boats against each other. Team Axo Nobel have an outstanding international squad. One of their strengths is youth and experience. Back to lead Brunel in the Volvo Ocean Race is Bauer Becking, a genuine sailing legend. No one has sailed more miles in this race than Becking, but in 7 previous attempts over 3 decades, he's never won. Could it be 8th time lucky?
2, 1, go!
Next, the newcomers Sun Hung Kai Scallywag. Sailing for Hong Kong, they are skippered by Aussie David Witt, who is nothing if not a straight shooter. They're highly motivated, with winning experience and incredible team spirit. So there you go, 7 teams, all desperate to get their names etched on that trophy in the toughest test of a team in world sport.
Welcome everybody to the first points for the Volvo Ocean Race 2017-18. This is the MAPFRE In-Port Race Alicante. We've had an amazing morning when the boats have all left the dock. We've had huge crowds out supporting their teams. A particular note for the MAPFRE team, who were enjoying an incredible amount of support from all of their Spanish fans, and really Alicante has taken it to their hearts. So here we are, Alicante, Spain, and we're just going to go through the race course. We've got comms from Bill O'Hara, the start line and the first upwind leg. You can go to a gate. There are 2 marks at the top, and then downwind also to gates at the bottom mark, and it's 3 times around. Latest updates, warning signal has been fired, and we are ready to go. Great pictures from the helicopter. In the booth with me, Sally Barkow. Now Sally is our expert for the day, and a wonderful expert she is too, the tactician in port for SCA, the all-women's team, in the last edition of the Volvo Ocean Race. And Sally's also been to the Olympics and is a wonderful friend and commentator. Sally, just give us a little, your first impressions.
So far, so good. It's exciting to see the boats out on the water, you know, already fired up for their first in-port start.
Great, and we've got on the water Niall Myant-Best. Niall, you can hear us and just tell us what the conditions are like, what the boats are doing, whether there's anything particular with the setups of the boat, which sails are they using?
Well, the sails that we can see up at the moment, it's pretty conventional. I'm on the water right now with Conrad Coleman, offshore sailor extraordinaire, and we've been watching all these boats getting ready. It seems like the masthead code 0 seems to be the sail to go for, Conrad. Everyone's picking the same.
That's right. Everybody learned from what happened last time round. It was MAPFRE that beat the entire fleet using 1 sail upwind and down. Now the entire fleet has adopted the same strategy.
Okay, so there you go. The breeze at the moment is looking fantastic for a little bit of racing. All the teams are getting pretty pumped up, and this is the start. Right now, we are ready to see incredible relief as the Volvo Ocean Race finally gets underway.
Well, with 1 minute and 40 seconds to go, that's Niall Myant-Best. And Niall, what is it, 7, 8 knots of breeze? I know earlier it was very light, but breeze seems to have built.
Yeah, that's right. When we first came out in the water, there was a little bit of a question as to what this breeze would finally be. It's settled down, and the number that it's settled on is around about 7 to 8 knots. So masthead code 0, easy sailing. However, everybody is going to be able to handle their boats round the course today. So it's going to be a challenge to find that edge.
Niall, great, thank you very much. And Sally, as Niall was saying, in these lighter conditions, what are some of the challenges sailing these boats not really designed for short course racing?
Yeah, not designed for short course. It's all going to be about acceleration off the starting line. When do you deploy that Jenniker? When do you get these boats rumbling?
Okay, well, we can see all of the boats now setting up on the starting line. 6 of the boats on starboard. That is the advantaged position. Right there is Vestas 11th Hour Racing. That's Nick Dana on the bow. He is calling number of boat lengths. Just to leeward of them is Dong Fong race team, making it a little difficult for Vestas 11th Hour Racing. They're a little early for the start. Axo Nobel. Simeon Teampont is no longer the skipper on this boat. Today, Jules Salter, the person in charge. Confirmation of the skipper for the rest of the race will be confirmed later. With 15 seconds to go, Sun Hun Kai Scallywag at the windward end. Looking good, just a little bit early there, and MAPFRE coming in on port, not looking like a good start from MAPFRE at all. 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2, 1. Vestas 11th out racing. What a super start from them. Also D Kafari on Turn the Tide on Plastic at the windward end, just coming in to shot. That is a great start from D. Beautiful, especially as yesterday, not such a good start. And here come across the fleet on port, ducking under 5 of the boats is MAPFRE, the local heroes, and Bauer Becking on Team Brunel did not get away well, and that was what you were talking about, Sally and Niall, earlier. In the light conditions, if you slow down too quickly, it's very hard to get it back up to speed. What happened there with Team Brunel?
Really hard. Looks like they were underneath the fleet, underneath the bad air, all the way into it, and you know, they're just going to struggle through this race. They have a choice to take a tack out, but we'll see what they do.
Okay, Team Brunel not looking so good. MAPFRE on port, duck the fleet, will go down on the water. Niall, what did you see?
Well, we're on the right-hand side of the course right now, and we're actually alongside the Spanish boat MAPFRE, and as you say, they did not get off this line very clearly. They made their intentions pretty wide to the whole fleet. We're going to start on port, but they had to duck everybody. However, if there's a boat out here on the water that you could imagine has a little bit of a superior edge when it comes to speed, it will be the Spanish team MAPFRE. So they're starting on the back foot, but do not rule them out.
Live pictures right now. We're watching MAPFRE go out towards the right-hand side of the racecourse. It just looks a little bit to me that the left-hand side of the racecourse is going a little softer, and that's where the majority of the fleet going. Niall, is there a difference there, left to right?
It certainly looks like the boats at the moment are struggling on the left-hand side of the course, but difficult really to gauge whether that's breeze or indeed because there's so little space out there. We can see that Turn the Tide on Plastic have had to come out. Vestas 11th Hour Racing seem to be losing some of the edge that they got from that start. The boat that has got the breeze is certainly MAPFRE. Alongside me is Conrad Coleman. Conrad, we're following MAPFRE going up here. Is this a bad start for them, or actually is this going quite nicely?
Well, frankly, they didn't have a blinder on the start, but what that was is an investment in the future. They set themselves up. They were the only boat to come out on this side, which means that they're in completely clear air, and that means that they can just focus on sailing the boat fast and not about what any of their competitors are doing.
Well, thanks, Conrad. I mean, from where we are seeing here, Andy, right now, whatever happened at the start line, it's almost already changed. The dice have been re-rolled, and who's going to lead the fleet into the top of the course is anybody's guess.
Well, I think that was some super tactics on board MAPFRE. They haven't put a foot wrong so far in all of the training. We've had Leg Zero, which included the Fastnet race. We've had the prologue race yesterday, and MAPFRE have really been showing a very clean pair of heels. I wonder, import tactician, we've got Rob Greenhalgh putting in a little bit of his opinion. This is his 5th Volvo Ocean race. He was with MAPFRE last time around when they finished 4th on equal points with the time Alpha Medica. We'll go to virtual eye graphics. MAPFRE there showing a lead. Better breeze, I think. Not too much of a wind shift. Looks like just better breeze and clear air there, Sally.
Yeah, and I think they've consistently been going 0.2 to almost a knot faster than the boats on the left right now. Is that pressure? Is that just sailing the boat better? You know, I think it'll pan out here once the boats come back together.
Well, the helmsman and skipper on MAPFRE is Xavi Fernandez, and he is a very accomplished sailor. This is his 5th Volvo Ocean race. Before he was with MAPFRE, Telefonica Blue and Movistar, so a very Spanish feel to his professional sailing career, added to which the Olympics in 2004 and 2008. He got a gold and silver medal sailing with his friend Iker Martinez in the 49er class. A very experienced helmsman and skipper. Beautiful there, pictures of MAPFRE. Look how tight that code 0 is. And just talk to us, Sally, about how, Sally, just tell us about why that sail is trimmed exactly like that. Are they at the top of the range of that sail?
They're probably not quite at the top, but they've made some changes in the sail from the last race, made it a little bit flatter. I think it can take it higher range. It's definitely the sail choice today. You can see how the boats are just getting powered up, and you know they need all this sail area from the bow all the way to the stern to get these boats moving.
And what exactly generates the power in these boats? It's the gap in between this big Code Zero sail and the mainsail, and it's sort of squeezing the wind in between those two sails. Right there, we can see a great picture of the slot. Talk us through it.
Exactly. That slot creates airflow. Airflow creates lift. Lift puts, pulls the boat through the water. So that's, you can see the shape of the sails as you pan up, and basically they're really flat and really efficient, which means they're moving fast, and then they can trim them in tighter and sail closer to the wind.
Okay, beautiful pictures with Alicante in the background as the boats head upwind. The racecourse set for 1 mile windward leeward legs 3 times around. And for those out on the water listening, 095 was the wind angle, so just about from the east. MAPFRE have felt that breeze is going to go further to the right-hand side, further to the east or southeast, and that's really why they've gone to this right-hand side. Now, it looks like very few tacks. MAPFRE probably only going to do 1 tack into this, and that's because tacking is expensive and costly in terms of boat speeds.
For sure. As soon as they go for a tack with this big masthead zero, they're going to have to furl it all the way up completely, turn the boat over, and hopefully they'll be on ley line through these gates.
Okay, let's pop down to Niall, who's on the water. Give us your perspective. Any right-hand shift? What's going on down there?
Well, I'm sure the Spanish fans are going to be waiting for this right-hand shift to come in, but where we are here, we are right next to the Spanish boat MAPFRE. Xavi Fernandez, he's working his team very hard at the moment, but the right-hand shift has not materialized. They're crossing back over, they're going to be on starboard, they're going to have right of way. However, the boats on the far left, they still look like they're in control right now. So we're waiting with bated breath as to who is going to punch out in front.
Thanks very much, Niall. Let's see if we can see some of those 3 boats all the way down on the left-hand side. There's a big tacking duel going on between Sung Hun Kai Scallywag, Team Brunel, and Dongfeng Race Team. And Brunel have tacked. Sun Hun Kai Scallywag had to duck underneath those 2 boats. Could have been costly, but that's a function of the tacks being so slow. It's a very dangerous place to be on that left-hand side. That looks like they're doing a little work on the leeward sail there. What's going on there? That looks like fish on the leeward side, Sally.
Fish, or maybe they're just putting a new sheet on. Yeah, putting a new sheet on. Maybe they're making a change or an inboard lead. Not quite sure.
Okay, let's just have a look at these Code Zeros. We get a brilliant idea here of how the trim is, and it looks like on Sung Hun Kai Scallywag, they've got a little less halyard tension. Maybe it's a bit more obvious, the different shape. What's that about?
So that'll just, create a little more shape in the front of the sail, or like right behind the luff of the sail. You see the other ones are quite tight, which makes a nice flat entry into the, for the wind, makes it maybe a little more efficient.
Okay, we've got pictures here of Vestas 11th hour racing coming on upwind. They've rather squeezed off the starting line, but they've gone towards the right-hand side as well. Only a few boat lengths behind MAPFRE as they all come in towards the top mark. Looks like Decafari and Untitled Plastic have had a couple of bad tacks. They've been forced to tack back and forth with Virtual Eye right now, not far to the Windward Mark, all the way on the left-hand side. This is an interesting boat race right here. Dongfeng, just to windward of Team Brunel, also right with them, Sung Hun Kai Scallywag, who had a great practice race yesterday. They haven't had the best preparation, one of the last teams to enter, but came second yesterday. Here we go. Just talk us about halyard tension on these Code Zeros.
Right, so you can see the tension there on Brunel and Dongfeng, quite similar. Scallywag is, has the wrinkles in it. They've gone for a softer tension, probably trying to create a little bit of an easier entry of wind into the sail.
So what does that do? It changes the shape of the sail?
It will change the shape of the sail. You can see that it's a little bit fuller in the front and through the middle. Whether they don't have it trimmed on as tight, you can see the foot of Brunel and Dongfeng are really strapped on, trying to basically squeeze height out of this sail. Brunel looks like in a tight lane, so they'll be just trying to hang on here.
And when you say a tight lane, bad air from the boat to windward and from the boat to leeward.
Exactly, and you saw Dongfeng just pressing over the top of Brunel. They're probably going to not be able to hold that tight lane for much longer.
So Team Brunel in a really bad spot there, getting dirty air that's rolling off the back of the sails of Sun Hun Kai Scallywag and bad air from Dongfeng Race Team, and you really struggle for air. They say in the sailing world the oxygen masks pop out because you've got nothing to breathe and no fresh air at all, and we can see in that group of 3 top of screen Team Brunel really getting stuffed, in bad shape with bad air. Sally.
But remember, you know, Brunel was one of the last ones off that start line, so they must have some good speed advantage somewhere to get back into this top group.
Okay, we got an interesting moment here coming into the Windward Mark. We're going to talk you through this Windward Mark situation. Right when the boat's around, we'll go down to Niall to give his perspective. At the moment, it is MAPFRE showing a clean pair of heels, doing a very nice job. They're on starboard, so they're on the advantaged position. Everyone else has to give way when they come into these marks. And it looks like they've got to bear away. This is Pablo Arate, who is helming. Pablo Arate. Okay, they've gone for the tack. Unusual. Wow. Sally, looking surprised.
Yeah.
Talk us through it.
Huge surprise. Maybe they weren't laying. It looked to me like they were. Maybe they're going to choose to take their loss here and lead the fleet around this gate. But yeah, big shock there for that tack.
So why so surprising? Because you lose so much distance in the tack. But
you lose so much in attack, and he was going straight into that mark, able to bear away and extend his lead. To me, it looks like a lot more pressure on that left-hand side of the race course. But they must see something else out there to make that big maneuver.
Well, they started in 6th position, ducking underneath everybody. They went to the right-hand side of the racecourse. Maybe they love that right-hand side. And also, they can see that at least 2 or 3 of their opposition closest are going around that right-hand mark. Maybe that had something to do with it.
Yeah, maybe they just didn't like being on the right on their own in that risk. Or, no, maybe they've got some local knowledge.
Brunel, top of screen. That shows you what it's like to be on port. You are not in an advantaged position. You have to give way. Brunel ducking underneath Vestas 11th Hour Racing and Axo Nobel. Axo Nobel are Windward. They have to keep clear as well. An opportunity here for Team Brunel. Boy, super close around these top 2 marks the gate.
Yeah, surprising. With that distance off the line, you know, everybody seems so spread out, and now they're all right back together.
Right, amazing. Well, that's a function of one design boat. Okay, we can see the boats now coming downwind in screen. Vestas 11th Hour Racing and Axo Nobel. Let's go down on the water and get it live and direct from our friend Niall.
Well, that was an incredibly tight mark rounding, as you guys said there in the commentary booth. The boat that's really lost out here, Turn the Tide on Plastic. And Conrad, you were with me on that beat. We were watching Turn the Tide on Plastic there. Too many tacks?
Yeah, it really looked like they couldn't commit either to the left side or the right side. They were the only ones that really tacked their way right up the middle, which is really punishing. That they were losing speed in every single maneuver. And actually, we're right up here at the Windward Gate, and we saw that they overstood the ley line into the gate. And then finally, we're kind of late trimming on. So I think they're just struggling with the sequence, with the timing of their maneuvers. Frankly, they're in more maneuvers, so they can only get better.
I will Turn the Tide on Plastic, a little bit of work to do, but MAPFRE at the moment just barely holding on to the lead. However, Andy, a big split for the run.
Okay, Niall, just talk to us. We looked at the tack that MAPFRE did right at the Windward Mark. It looked like they could lay down to the first mark without a tack, but they went for the tack. Any insight from you? The right-hand side favoured, a little more breeze maybe?
It was certainly pretty close when they got to the top. I think they could have laid that top mark. However, they might have just had to avoid at the last minute with a few rules coming in about room at the mark and coming out of that tack. They might have just decided, you know what, this might get messy. Whoever's in the right, whoever's in the wrong, let's just keep it clean and sail into fresh air. However, the counter-argument is they're sailing back to the side of the course that they sailed upwind on. Maybe they can see something on that side that we can't, because they clearly like it.
Okay, thanks very much, Niall. And he's down there with Conrad Coleman, who is one of our experts down on the water. Great to have him here. He's recently done the Vendée Globe, where he sailed around the world all on his own, and 25,000 miles. And he was coming into Spain, 800 miles from Spain, broke his mast. Oh! So he had to build a new one, and he sailed all the way in 800 miles on a jury-rigged mast. So at some point, we're going to have to get that story in some more detail from Conrad. Thanks very much for joining us. MAPFRE jibing now. They're first to jibe, and you can see some of the sort of ballet on board. Sally, just talk us through exactly what's going on there.
Yeah, full coordination. They're sailing these boats short-handed, as we say. So when you have a chance, you jump on the handles to put the power into the, into furling, and then you're probably spinning off and easing a sheet, or trimming on the other side. There's Sophie Cizik. We sailed with her on SCA. Great bow woman, and she's just powerhouse for us. And you can see how much work she's putting in on the handles in the back of the boat, and then running all the way to the bow, being a part of that coordination.
Right, and we even saw Juan Vila, the navigator. He was going from one runner to the other, and he was had his hands full plenty. Rob Greenhouse trimming the mainsail, and lovely pictures from the dockside here in Alicante. Team Brunel, Bauer-Becking, and they have got Kyle Langford on board and Peter Burling. Those two guys just finished duty with Oracle Team US. Kyle Langford with Oracle Team USA and Peter Burling with Emirates Team New Zealand, who won the America's Cup. And the interesting thing about Peter Burling is he has also won a gold medal at the Olympics, gold and silver. He's won silver, a gold in the most recent Olympics, and he did it with Blair Tuke, who is on board MAPFRE. Those two have won the America's Cup and won an Olympic medal. The only thing they haven't done is won the Volvo Ocean Race, and that is what's called the Triple Crown. No one has ever won it between Blair Tuke and Peter Burling. That's going to be a great battle for us to look forward to over the next 9 months of this 13th edition of the Volvo Ocean Race. Lovely pictures. What do you see there, Sally? That is Sun Hun Kai Scallywag.
Yeah, you can see a nice ease Jenniker. That halyard again, I would imagine after these photos, they're going to go back and check out their halyard tension tonight and see if they're in range with the fleet.
Okay, well, School Report says work on the halyard tension from Sally Park out here. And we got some school reports from Conrad and Niall about turn the tide on plastics. I'm sure they'll have some things for the debrief. Looks all very serene on the Sun Hun Kai Scallywag. They had a great day yesterday in the practice race. They got second, and David Witt was a much happier bunny. There he is, Whitty on the helm. And exactly what is he doing there, Sally?
He's just trying to feel the boat, and they're very sensitive when you drive them. 2 rudders out the back. It's not like it loads up and creates a lot of helm, but he's just trying to find the groove, not move the rudders too much, not disturb the wind too much, and let the boat, you know, accelerate. And that's the whole thing. If you really keep it calm in the right groove, it starts to keep accelerating.
And you don't want to use the rudder too much because
it's essentially like a brake in the back of the boat. So the more you turn it, the more the boat has to push through the water, but also the rudder is just creating more drag. So we line the rudders up perfectly so that, you know, they're actually minimum drag, and you can basically, you're just trying to go up in the downwind angle like we're going now. You go up and find the pressure, and then you have the speed, and you can press it low towards the marks.
Okay, before we get down to the gate number 2, the Windward Mark, we'll go down on the water to Niall. Give us your synopsis, Niall. Which side is favoured out right here?
Well, we are currently blasting down on the run. We've stayed behind the fleet for the moment, just to get a little bit of an idea as to exactly how the fleet are spreading out, which side's going to pay. We've got these 2 groups, and I've got to say, you keep putting me under pressure to call the sides. It is so incredibly close. This race seems to be coming down to just pure boat speed. Tactics and strategy aren't giving the sailors the edge. MAPFRE looks strong, 11th hour, Vestas 11th hour racing, they look strong as well. If you really force me up against it, I'd say the Spanish team are in the lead, but they've still got some work to do.
Well, just as you were saying that, we had pictures of MAPFRE, who seemed like they got a decent bit of puff and a little bit of headed pressure as they come in towards the bottom mark. MAPFRE looking like they're leading. The next interesting battles will be Dongfeng against Vestas 11th Hour Racing. The 2 of them coming together in the middle of screen right now. Dongfeng are on starboard. Vestas 11th Hour Racing are on port. So Vestas 11th Hour Racing have to avoid. They're leaving it pretty late. They've got to go above them here, right? They're going to go around the back of Dongfeng. That all looks okay. No problem there. They're not allowed to touch them, but that means it'll be very close when they come into the bottom mark. Little gain for Dongfeng there as they chose that right-hand side. Vestas 11th Hour Racing with a great message. The Danish wind farm manufacturer, and 11th Hour Racing committing to having the most sustainable sailing team ever. They've got everything from bamboo toothbrushes.
Really?
Yeah.
Bamboo toothbrushes. That's incredible.
Right?
Yeah.
And their team sunglasses are made out of 100% recycled fishing nets. They are taking it to the extreme, but the message is very important. No plastic. Try and take your reusable shopping bags when you go out to the supermarket this afternoon. Okay, Axo Nobel. They head past. They've got it looks like Brad Ferrand right there. Got Brad Jackson. Jules Salter, the navigator, his 4th Volvo Ocean Race. He won it with Ericsson Racing 4 in 2008-9. Here we go. MAPFRE coming in towards the bottom mark. Pablo Arate is the helmsman. And that is a great sign. Xavi Fernandez is so comfortable with his team. He changes up the helming duties, and he's certainly not doing the helming for this import race, and he's given it to his buddy, who is doing a bang-up job as they go around that right-hand gate, trimming that code 0 on. Sally.
Yeah, that was a nice little maneuver. You saw them come up, trim on, and then press down on the boat and just accelerate.
And what this has done is that it's basically got them free, because all of the other boats we saw, Vestas 11th Hour Racing had to go around Dongfeng. Dongfeng went into the corner and have looked like that has hurt them. Team Brunel, 6th around the top mark, looking in good shape now.
Yeah, they must have made, feel like they did one less jibe possibly, and if they can lay this mark, they're going to turn in second.
Bauer Becking, an interesting team. This is his 8th Volvo Ocean race, but the majority of his crew, except for Andrew Cape, haven't done the race at all, and certainly not with the sort of experience that Bauer Becking has. Him and Andrew Cape, really the old hands on board and leading the team very nicely. Bauer has looked all very relaxed. Okay, here we go, out on the water. Axo Nobel are on starboard, and Dongfeng race team have had to avoid them. Axo Nobel there going, I think now forced to go around that left-hand mark, but Sun Hun Kai Scallywag are trying to go inside them as well. It's a little bit late on Sun Hun Kai Scallywag. They've sort of gone the wrong way there, and now they're coming in late. And Axo Nobel have to give them a little room, but Axo Nobel are much faster. I think they'll be able to just trim on and go around the outside of them. Slowing the boat down in these conditions on the mark roundings, not advised. Import tactician Sally Barkow on Team SCA, what's your view?
Yeah, not advised. Keep the boat moving as fast as you can, minimize maneuvers, and yeah, if you have to duck somebody, make sure you're, taking the inside on the next mark.
And you can see that on the water on the left-hand side there. That is Sun Hun Kai Scallywag to windward of Axo Nobel, and you'll see Axo Nobel start to stretch out as they've got better breeze and their acceleration is quicker.
Exactly, and you see these boats when they're all heeled up and powered up, they're really tracking well. If they're not, they don't have that power yet. Maybe there's too much keel up. You can really, the boat will take forever to accelerate.
Okay, so talk to us a little bit about the keel. We'll try and get some shots a little later. Just the keel on a traditional boat, the keel just goes up and down in the middle of the boat underneath the water, and that keeps the boat from tipping over. But these boats have a somewhat different mechanism.
Yeah, so these boats have a canting keel, so you're able to cant it out, to windward or leeward 40 degrees. It's an advantage because it's creating riding moment. And when the boat is powered up, when there's enough wind, cant the keel out, the boat presses flat, and you can accelerate and go a lot faster. When it's really light, like we saw at the start, or perhaps here, you wouldn't cant the keel all the way out to create the heel in the boat, to create the power. And they're actually trimming the keel here throughout this race.
Okay, there you go, trimming the keel, and that's on a hydraulic system.
That's right.
They use buttons, and who would do that on the boat?
The driver would be doing that, yep. So every time they do a maneuver, they would do a full cant across if they're using the full keel. And then as we're sailing along, you can have an easier maneuver, or you can just send it all the way across.
Adjustment is a fine tune.
A fine tune and a course tune. There we go.
There we go. MAPFRE just tacking from the right-hand side. Some pictures from the virtual eye, just showing the boats going out to the right-hand side. And look at that. Sophie Cizek was on the bow. Now she's right at the back of the boat, helping grind the main cylinder. Was she grinding the main cylinder or the code 0 there? And now she straight back up to the front of the boat. I mean, she looks like she's got the longest walk and the busiest girl on board.
Well, she's got some long legs, so that works. They have Tamara Echegoyen on there as well, an Olympian from match racing in 2012. Super great to have her on, and she adds a lot to the middle of the boat there with trimming and coordination around the course.
Yeah, she's great. I watched her win that gold medal on the last leg of the last race of the London 2012 Olympics, and boy, there were some Spanish fans out there, and they were all here in their droves this morning. Tamara Echegoyen, quite a star of Spanish sailing with her gold medal. MAPFRE looking good. They've tacked back into the middle of the race course. Let's go down on the water and get the latest from Niall Mountbest.
Well, Andy, the breeze at the moment is staying pretty consistent. So right now it's just about those little adjustments that the crews can do. MAPFRE, as you saw, had an absolutely fantastic leeward mark rounding, really in control of their own destiny. The rest of the teams right now, I think they're just scrambling to find the same level of precision.
There we go, level of precision, very important. And MAPFRE there with two rudders, the windward rudder just lifting out of the water. Presumably that's good, Sally. That reduces a bit of drag.
Reduces a bit of drag. It means they have plenty of power in the boat. You see how heeled up these boats sail. It's due to the light weight of it all and how much power is in the sails.
MAPFRE taking the conservative route and going back in towards the middle. That means they'll do a couple more tacks than they did on the first upwind leg. One tack only, because they started on port, went all the way out to the starboard ley line and tacked.
Well, remember they did the one at the top, so they'd be doing two. So maybe they really want to go to that right-hand gate again.
Oh, I see. Listen, Sally's giving us the insight into the tactician. So they've tacked early onto starboard so that they can go to that right-hand mark with the tack when they're on the port ley line on the other side of the racecourse.
That's right, and I think from what I saw from that downwind run is that it provides them to have the longer run on the correct shift, and that's where they gained in the end there into that Windward Mark, and I think they'll probably just be trying to make that same plan if it's working for them.
Dongfeng race team there. Look at that, beautiful. Talk us through what you can see right there, Sally.
Yeah, what a great shot of the sails, the setups. You know, all these teams have new sails out of the bag here. This is the beginning of the race, so they're basically been fine-tuning them, getting the cable tensions right, getting the batten tensions right, and making sure they're ready to go for the leg start. But what a great shot, and it looks like they've really made some good improvements to the shape of these sails since the last race.
Yeah, North Sails, one of the partners of the Volvo Ocean Race, have been investing a lot of time and energy into getting those as fewer sails as possible to last all the way around the world. And it looked like it was a pretty successful operation the last time you were on Team SCA, and they've refined it again this time. Just talk to us a bit about the rules. A limited number of sails.
Limited number of sails. They've actually added the option of another mainsail, which I think is a good call. We sailed around the world with only one main last time, and you know, it took a big beating, that mainsail. And it's really nice to see that they have the option to put another one on, and then they have, you know, the choices of 6 different head sails, and they'll decide that with the wind condition.
Okay, well, we just saw pictures there of MAPFRE, and that was Juan Vila, who had his hand-bearing compass right there, and he was looking for that ley line that you were just talking about, Sally, that final ley line into those top 2 marks, because they want to go around that right-hand mark. Very unlikely that we'll see them do that last-minute tack that we did around the first lap, and he is an incredibly accomplished sailor. Juan Vila was the first Spanish sailor to ever win the Volvo Ocean Race, and he did it way back in 2001-2 on Ilbrook. He's also a 3-time winner of the America's Cup. He's a pretty accomplished fella at 56 years old, one of the veterans here of the race, as they go through the tack, and then now they're on that port ley line. Are they going to lay okay? It looks like the boats behind them are on a very similar ley lines. That'll ease his concerns a little as a navigator or a tactician. There's always nervous moments that you mess up the ley line, Sally.
For sure, and if somebody has to choose it before you, then you can use their reference and decide if they've chosen it correctly, go further or go before them. And yeah, it's just a nice choice there to make it really safe on the ley line.
Looks like they're a little tight on that ley line, if I'll be honest, looking at the virtual eye here. Let's just, before we get to the top mark here, let's go down to Niall and get his perspective.
Well, Andy, you won't be surprised to hear that they look pretty good on the ley line. I think what was happening here, they were keeping the bow a little down, a little free, weren't quite coming up to that tighter angle to generate speed. Now they're up to speed, and that code 0 looks pretty tight and in, and they look comfortable. But they don't look like they've given themselves a safety margin, and that's why they're in the lead. They are sailing around this course so efficiently. No extra meters sailed at all.
The breeze looks up, Niall. A little bit more breeze.
Yeah, a little bit more breeze. I mean, Conrad, you've been keeping your eye on the weather. What's happening now?
Well, that's right. There's a big Dutch flag right behind me, and it is flapping around with a lot more enthusiasm than the last time. Now, what that means is the boats are obviously going a little bit faster, but there's actually a big benefit, and that is that the top of the mainsail previously was getting stuck on the wrong side. That meant that the boats coming out of the tack were completely bogged down. They didn't have efficient airflow of their sails, so that was really slowing them down. Now that there's a little bit more pressure, there's less of a penalty in the maneuvers.
Okay, thanks very much, Conrad and Niall, as we watch MAPFRE going around that mark, and as Sally called it, that is exactly what they were trying to do. They were trying to get to that right-hand mark because they like the right-hand side. There's more breeze. Now, talk us, what's Sophie doing right now? We're focusing on her. She's running forwards.
Yep, they're probably just going to prep, make sure everything's clear for the jibe. So they're, yeah, just going to be running down, getting the weight forward, and making sure the sheet is clear, so that when it's time to jibe and lead the group into the marks, they're ready.
Okay, let's have a look at the 2 marks there, the orange marks. They can go around either of those marks. Vestas 11th Hour Racing would have to turn left, and it looks like they're going to tack around this mark, pretty close to it as well.
Wow, big maneuver for, and they could just carry on and go straight. We'll see if that pans out. Looked like Brunel wasn't quite making the ley line.
Oh, problem on the tack as well. Vestas 11th Hour Racing had a problem with their tack. They slowed down through the middle of the tack. Is that because they can't get the code 0 through? Or
Yeah, I guess. Or maybe they had a hiccup in the furling line. The furling line goes around a big drum on the winch in the middle of the boat. And if that gets an override or something, then you can't continue to furl.
Oh, slow on Team Brunel as well. And they're tacking onto port. They got to get that code 0 in. And those 2 boats who made big gains on the upwind now slowing right down. Okay, it looks like Vestas 11th Hour Racing are okay, and they've got themselves going downwind, no problem. Next up is Dongfeng. This is how to do it, just come in straight here. Now talk to us about the keel. That is canted to windward, right?
Yep, you can see that to windward coming out through the water there, and basically now they're going to bear away, and they're probably going to put it into the center to make it most efficient going through the water, because you don't need the leverage, you don't need the riding moment going downwind.
Okay, Axo Nobel coming upwind. They're probably going to go for the same mark that MAPFRE and Team Brunel went around. Vestas 11th Hour Racing having a very nice sail here in second place. Axo Nobel now coming. They'll just bear away around this mark, so they've gone for the safe option as well. None of those last-minute maneuvers. I mean, the only thing about tacking right at the top is that your speed build is nicer. You can actually choose a lower angle because you're not trying to go upwind.
True, but you saw, 11th Hour trying to do that maneuver, and they had to sail 2 extra boat lengths above the mark to actually do it. So I don't know there if Brunel came in and maybe was calling starboard, and Axo Nobel or 11th Hour had to just avoid a little bit. It looked maybe tight, but it looked like a lot of extra distance sailed by 11th Hour to get around the mark.
Di Cafari well back in it here, well back in the hunt. They've done nicely. Di Cafari going around that right-hand mark, and they're now challenging Sung Hun Kai Scallywag, the team from Hong Kong. They've got, here we'll stick with Turn the Tide on plastic right now. They've got Martin Stromberg on board. He's done the race 3 times. He's won it with Groupama in 2011-12, and he was with Dongfeng race team in 2014-15. He'll be you can see there Dee just with her hands in front of the wheel. Was that doing the keel?
Yep, those exactly where the buttons are for the keel, and like I said, she's releasing the keel back down, probably closer to center line, because they're going downwind and they don't need that leverage.
So it looks like she's driving a car, but also having to play the piano in front of her at the same time.
Yeah, it's kind of what it feels like, but it's it's quite powerful. You have big hydraulics to move it all, so you can do as you need.
Well, on the prologue race, they were doing extremely well in 3rd place, but they had an issue in the last few hours where they tacked with all the water ballast in one of the sides that ended up being the leeward side, and she was talking about that being an issue. Whose responsibility is it to put the water in the tanks on either side of the boat?
Yeah, we dedicated 1 or 2 people to that. It's an easy thing to do. Basically, there's water ballast tanks in both aft corners, and if you forget to drain it out, it takes 3 or 4 minutes to drain. So if you forget to do that before the tack, you're stuck with it on the wrong side of the boat. And we had designated people to make sure it was their responsibility, pretty much the people on the aft pedestals, to make sure they were draining it and then filling it as appropriate.
Now, in these conditions, presumably no water on the downwind legs. You get rid of it all.
You do, unless it's really windy, and then you do want it in the aft tanks to basically, keep the bow out.
In 10 knots or so, you wouldn't have it.
10 knots, it should be totally empty, and for any of this import stuff, yeah, they'll have it totally empty.
Including upwind?
Including upwind, yeah. Unless, yeah, I would say including upwind. Sometimes when it's really choppy, there's another big tank in the front of the boat, in front of the rig, and you might put some water in there upwind to stabilize the boat.
Okay, there we go, getting it from our expert here. 11 knots of breeze at the top of the racecourse. We're getting information from Bill O'Hara, who is our race committee man. Martine Grail, there you go. She is a very famous Olympian. She won a gold medal for Brazil. Talk to us about that. She's
yeah, in the 49er FX, they had a fantastic medal race, taking the gold in their home country this past Olympics. And yeah, what a star! I've seen her race a few times now, and just the way she handles that 49er, amazing.
She seems like a very bright spirit around the dock. She's got a great way about her, and a gold medal. She's from a famous sailing family, handles herself very professionally.
Yeah, and she's super driven. You know, she's you can see her there pumping away on the handles. I think the effort that she's put in to make her career go, she's well deserving to be on this team and have a really good go at making a difference.
Excellent. Look at that. Great paint job on board the Axo Nobel, as you'd imagine. They're a Dutch paint company, Dutch flagged boat. And we're getting some great pictures. A lot of rope. That's Luke Malloy there on the leeward trimming side. A lot of rope in there, but presumably it's all well organised. Looks a bit like a snake's honeymoon right now, but everyone knows what they're doing.
Yeah, you have to kind of stay tidy. You can see one extra loop in the rope there, and you can have a follow the lines. And you got to really pay attention.
Right, and you don't want to get any loops in. If the ropes go in and out, you can get if you get it around your leg, it can be a bit painful.
Exactly, and it looked like a bit of a spaghetti mess, but you could kind of see they were flaked sort of correctly in their area, and that's kind of the best place for them to be because they can run freely without being all tied up in a bag or anything.
Okay, looks bad, goes good.
Yeah, exactly.
Flaked well. There we go.
Looks like Jacca Singarini on the helm there, one of our old coaches from SCA. Him and Brad Jackson helped us around the world, and plenty of experience there in these boats from the outside.
Excellent. Very, very good indeed. The Dutch flags on either side of the stern of the boat, and Inmarsat, one of the sponsors of the team, as we go to the virtual eye. MAPFRE looking in great shape. Let's go down on the water and get an update from Niall and Conrad.
Oh, thanks, Andy. I mean, they really do look in good shape here, don't they? This is the Spanish team. This is the Spanish stopover. They were set up to get a cheer and a warm welcome back to the shore, whatever happened, but they are certainly turning it on for their fans. The first lap, they struggled a little bit. Now, as we conclude the second lap, they are looking quite relaxed on board. I mean, Conrad, from here, I mean, they're really starting to chill out.
They really are. They've got the opportunity to sit up in the cockpit, look around. They've got time, and again, in sailing we often talk about the rich getting richer. That just basically means that the benefits always go to the boat at the front because they've got clear air, they're not in congestion, they've got a clean lane up and down the course, and the fact that they're not under pressure from the other boats means that they can then further invest in deciding what the best tactics are, and they're playing it beautifully.
Okay, they're just going in for a jibe right now. We've got super pictures rolling up that code 0, and as the boat then trips across, they have this sort of ballet of coordination between all of the sailors on board there. Tamara Echegoyen that we were talking about, she's just easing that windward sheet. Then she's now moving down to the leeward side, so helping on the leeward trim. All busy as they come in towards the bottom mark. All looks fine though on board MAPFRE. Here they go for that final jibe. So they are liking this right-hand side. Oddly, despite liking the right-hand side for pressure, the breeze has gone 5 degrees to the left-hand side, but I think a bit lighter on the left.
And they might be using that left-hand shift to sail the longer, port upwind and starboard downwind. So they might just be using the skew of the course to take advantage of the little shift as long as it stays in.
Pablo Arate, he is on the helm. You can see him on the left-hand side, just driving the wheel. They've got a few guests at the back of the boat for this in-port race. They have got a beautiful view, and I tell you, the dock is going to go bananas if MAPFRE win. There are an enormous amount of Spanish fans and a lot of famous Spanish sailors that we've been talking about. Here we go with Team Brunel coming in towards Dongfeng race team. This is going to be close between the two of them. The onboard reporter there, just in the front. Abby Eller there, she's one of the pit crew. She is a long-standing Volvo Ocean Race veteran. Talk to us about Abby.
Yeah, Abby was the boat captain for us on SCA, and she takes over the boat captain role in Brunel as well, and leading in the pit. And she just yeah, the experience there is just so valuable, and how the boat works and keeping it running.
Here we go, close here, but Dongfeng Race Team have managed to just squeeze themselves around Vestas 11th Hour Racing, and now this is going to be tight between the two boats in the middle. Brunel on starboard, and Vestas 11th Hour Racing are going to have to jibe. They've got to do a last-minute jibe, and Brunel are now going to ease it away. Probably Brunel going to jibe here.
I think so, to get some clear air on the other side.
Vestas 11th Hour Racing going to be in a tough spot here. They're going to be a little slow getting down to this bottom mark. Team Brunel jibing and going around in second place. They've gone from the outhouse to almost the penthouse here on Dongfeng Race Team. Charles Caudrelier, the accomplished French sailor. He's won the Solitaire de Figaro, and he's sailed all sorts around the world. Their navigator, Pascal Bedeggery, has raced 30 times across the Atlantic. Amazing record. Boats coming around the bottom mark, Team Brunel, and it didn't work out too badly actually for Vestas 11th Hour Racing. They seem to keep their speed, got the inside line, and are now heading left, and it might have just made a little jump on Team Brunel there.
I agree, and that's the benefit of the gates, isn't it? You can basically, even if you're on port starboard having to jibe, you can still have a clear lane to the other side of the course.
There we go. Around the bottom mark. In fifth is Akzo Nobel, following around Vestas 11th Hour Racing, and then Sun Kai Scallywag. David Witt did his first and only previous Volvo Ocean Race back in 1997-98 on Innovation Caverna. And they were in fourth place, and he's back after a 20-year break. Just busy doing something else. No, I tell you what he was busy doing. 20 Sydney to Hobart races, and this team is born out of the Super Maxi 100 called Scallywag, based in Sydney and in Hong Kong. And we're going to stop over in Hong Kong for the Volvo Ocean Race. I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be great. There's David Witt there on the helm. On the virtual eye, that right-hand side looks good. MAPFRE in great shape. I like where Dongfeng are. Turn the tide on plastic. Clean seas. D Kafari coming around the bottom mark. They look to have that code 0 plenty trimmed on right there.
Yeah, they do. You know, I think they're going to be the team to watch for improvement as we go. Such a young team as we go, as they start this race. Communication on board to maneuvers. It's great to see them not continue to lose through the fleet, and they're hanging in it. And
they've got a mixed crew, 50-50 men and women. D Kafari, the skipper, the navigator Nico Lundven, as we said, Martin Stromberg, who's done won the Volvo Ocean Race and done 3 previously. Liz Wardley, Annalisa Murphy, she's an excellent sailor, Irish Olympian.
Yeah, laser radial Olympian, super strong.
Yeah, won a medal.
Yeah.
So she's extremely good. Bianca Cook, Lucas Chapman, Bledin Mon, who is just who was with Land Rover BAR in the America's Cup, and Bernardo Freitas. Okay, we're looking at the virtual eye. MAPFRE on the right-hand side of the race course. There we go. We can see Pablo at the wheel there, and we can see Rob Greenhouse just to the left-hand side. He is helping grind in the mainsail. Sophie running around and running forwards again to get her weight out on the side of the boat. Why is she doing that?
Again, it comes down to this riding moment. So get your weight out on the rail. It's an import, so they're not stacking sails. They're not actually using the sails to be on the edges, so they'll move their body weight just to get that little extra inch of boat speed. So
that's one of the differences between these import races and when they go offshore. You're allowed to move equipment from one side of the boat to the other when you go offshore. How much equipment are you allowed to use?
Exactly. You end up moving a lot. It feels like all you're doing is stacking things around the world. But every single maneuver, you're going to be offshore. You're moving every single sail on board, every single piece of equipment, every food bag, every toolbox from one side to the other, because you can see how much these boats heel up. Every pound or kilo you put on the windward side there, you know, you have a chance of going 0.1 knot faster, or, you know, some percentage faster. So that's the name of the game offshore.
Wow. So do they have their bamboo toothbrush holders on either side of the boat?
They might have them rotating, I guess. Now they're thinking they were lead-filled bamboo toothbrush holders, you know.
Great pictures from the MAPFRE Alicante In-Port Race as we are on virtual eye going around the race course. And there we've got Akzo Nobel in 6th spot. Just one ahead of them is Vestas 11th Hour Racing. It's boat speed way down there, presumably they're after attack. There we go, they've just finished attack. And now they're on port, coming to halfway up the race course. And we'll go down to Niall and Conrad with a little update.
Oh, Andy, one thing has become abundantly clear here as the race continues. We're on to the final upwind leg, and MAPFRE have clearly been the boat that has pulled out the winning strategy every time, because right now everybody seems to be following them. We've only got Vestas 11th Hour Racing and Akzo Nobel on the other side of the course. Turn the Tide on Plastic have lost out a little bit, and they've had to go over to try and find some breeze. But everybody who's within reach of that top spot just seems to be trying to follow MAPFRE and learn from them. Conrad, we're into the dying stages in this race. Is there any way they can do to reel in the Spanish?
Well, I don't think so. I think that if you listen closely as the MAPFRE boat moves up the course, it's that clinking noise, right? Those are all the Olympic medals that are on board. So these guys have sailed the boat already around the world. They were really close to winning it last time. I think they've got an absolute clinch on this race. They're perfect. They're not making mistakes. I don't think they're going to start now.
Yeah, great insight. Thanks very much to Conrad, who's very experienced at sailing these sorts of boats. Most often he sails on his own, and that's why he's good at chatting, because he has to chat to someone, take that opportunity. Blair Tuke on board MAPFRE when he was talking about Olympic medals. A gold in 2016, a silver in 2012 in London. And between the two of them, they had one of the most outstanding records, him and Peter Burling, of 21 World Championship regattas, never beaten, and then they went on and won the America's Cup with Emirates Team New Zealand. And at the moment, that Triple Crown is looking good for Blair Tuke over his partner, but sometimes good for the crews to get a little extra love.
Yeah, it's nice, and none of this happens without a really strong team on any medal front. Even the chance to go to the Olympics means you have to be a really strong team with strong crew members, and that's exactly what you're seeing here on MAPFRE. Experience, you just can't buy that experience, and it's fantastic to see them all working together. And you're noticing the details of the coordination of the crew, and that's where they're just, they're calling really good shifts and doing the same track around the course each lap, but they're gaining because they're just that much more coordinated as a group.
There you go. Throughout the team, you need to have that sort of level of commitment, expertise, and attention to detail. Now, those tactics that you were talking about from MAPFRE, that seems to be exactly the right thing. They've obviously got an overall position which is protect the right-hand side, and on the first upwind, they gave away 3, 4, 5 boat lengths to ensure that they got that right-hand side, and now they've just refined their tactics a little bit, where they're tacking up towards the top mark, shy of ley line. Tacking for the top. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually a really nice course that they're taking. They're tacking with enough distance away from the marks to have a full speed build before they bear away downwind. They're fully loaded up in an upwind mode, and now they're cracking off a bit. I think they probably didn't know this was the answer on the first leg, and then once by reading the wind and the angle and the conditions, they made that choice at the the first top mark, and just capitalized on it.
Well, I'm going to take off a slight disagreement of the day, because I reckon they wanted that right-hand side come what may, and that's why they started on port, and they were happy to let the pin go, where they've been trying to fight for in the practice races that we saw yesterday. They've been winning the pin no problem. So my view is that they had an overall tactician's call to go right, protect the right, and that's why they started on port and ducked 5 of the 6 boats. Team Brunel weren't so good off the line, and they chose that right-hand side. These, the MAPFRE In-Port Race, the first points races for the 2017-18 Volvo Ocean Race, as we watch Dong Fong all powered up there, coming around that top mark. Plenty of breeze now, looks more like 12 or 13 knots of breeze. Niall, breeze is up.
Yeah, absolutely. The breeze is definitely up, and I think the big question as the breeze comes up, yes, we only have one more downwind leg to go, but are we going to see a difference in sail choice? Because as the wind comes up, are we going to get near the A3? Well, the man that might know better than me, Conrad, what's your take on it?
Well, I think it's too late to change for a different downwind sail, but one of the things I just wanted to return to, Andy, is one of the themes you've been talking about is preparation and precision on board the Red Spanish boat, and I've just noticed that as they came around us, that they actually had the J1 sail clipped on. So at the top of the race course here, where we're standing now, there is a lot more wind, and I think that they were preparing just in case there was too much wind for that masthead code 0 to keep working upwind. They already had the next sail clipped on and ready to go. So they're clearly thinking a long way down the course, and it's working for them.
Brilliant. Thank you, Conrad. As we look at the top mark and Brunel and 11th Hour Racing go around, Vestas 11th Hour Racing go around almost exactly the same moment. Don't touch that mark. Very close for them. And more breeze. You can see the bow wave and the boats heeling over. Team Brunel fully pressed up as they were coming in there.
Yeah, and you can feel that it's like skidding around a corner, right? You want to release the power, but you want to carry it all downwind as well, and that's a sign the pressure's up, and it makes that this downwind's going to be a little easier to find the groove, that's for sure.
Team Axo Nobel going towards that left-hand mark as we look up the right-hand side on your screen. They'll follow around with Team Brunel. They've also got their code 0 masthead 0 up. Just zoom in on them, watch them go around the mark. They seem to be a little more in control there. They've just eased that code 0 a little bit just to help them get around the top mark without too much heel. Seems cool and calm.
Interesting to see the trim differences in the sails. You know, I think these masthead zeros are quite a bit flatter than the last race, and they're able to ease them quite a lot downwind. Normally on offshore, they have these jockey poles that go out on the sides to make the sails even flatter for an offshore leg. And the imports, we don't put them on because it's, you know, tight quarters, and that's
too much to do.
Too much to do. Yep, it's quite a lot of coordination to get them on, and they're really meant for that offshore speed.
What exactly does the jockey pole do? Nothing to do with horses.
No. For you probably go and ride it around across the boat. But what we do is, you basically project them out. There's two spots, one up near the shrouds for the jib and one off the stern of the boat. And it's basically an extension off the boat, and you can trim the sheet through that extension, and it flattens the sail out.
Okay, majority of the boats on starboard going down towards the finishing line. MAPFRE have now jibed to sort of cover the fleet. This is an overall look at the fleet going towards the finishing line, the final leg down, and the points for the MAPFRE In-Port Race Alicante go towards the overall in-port race results, and that becomes crucial if you've got the same number of points for the overall race. And it seems like a small thing, but actually kind of critical.
It is kind of critical, and it broke one of the ties last race, and so it does matter, even though it's not actually accumulated points into the overall Volvo Ocean race. But you know, for us on Team SCA last time around, it was one of our goals for sure to be top 3 in the import races. It showed improvement, it showed coordination and teamwork, and you know, it's fun. These sailors take it very seriously.
Yeah.
It's just time for them to perform.
Well, the tiebreak was between MAPFRE and Alva Medica, which is really now Charlie Enright's boat, and it was on the last leg of the last import race where MAPFRE overtook what's now Vestas 11th Hour Racing to take the tiebreak between 4th and 5th when they were with Alva Medica. So it is absolutely great pictures there of MAPFRE sailing downwind, and they chose that right-hand side again, but getting a little word on the water that maybe the left-hand side's come reasonably good, and one of the other favourites has ground their way into second place, the Dongfeng race team. And actually they look like they're in pretty good shape all the way down there to the right-hand side, and the virtual eye has got them actually sneaking ahead of MAPFRE. I can't believe that that'll be the case. Surely not. There we go. It's going to be close though. We'll go to live pictures in a moment. Let's go down to Niall and hear what he's got to say. Niall, go for it.
Well, if the computer is confused, we're pretty confused down here as well, because Dongfeng Race Team are certainly looking pretty strong right now. They've had a fantastic time on the right-hand side if you were looking towards the city. Meanwhile, MAPFRE continuing to sail well, but they are locked into that left-hand side. It's definitely got closer. I think we're still with the Spanish team right now, but just that last few 100 meters to go to the finish, Xavi Fernandez and his team will be working hard. They have had to keep going hard to get across that finish line.
Well, that's right. You said they were looking cool and relaxed a lap ago, and that is if ever there was a curse for a sailor, is resting on your laurels, right, Sally? You can't let it go. But what's interesting here is the two pre-race favourite teams, by most accounts in the media, have suggested. I was reading Yachting World, Ian Walker, the previous winner, and he suggested that MAPFRE and Dongfeng Race Team most prepared, best sort of blend the chemistry of the crew for those two boats, and then behind them Team Brunel, very experienced, good team in the sort of next group, as are Axo Nobel.
Yeah, and you saw Dongfeng struggle, you know, through the start, bouncing around in the group, and then when, you know, make one or two good calls, sail the boat well, come through in second.
This is absolutely the teaser for the race, and are these positions going to change at all? Because also Vestas 11th Hour Racing very much duking it out with Team Brunel, and this is MAPFRE In-Port Race Alicante. As we come down towards the finish, let's go with MAPFRE looking along the finishing line, the race committee boat right there, bottom of screen, and MAPFRE a couple of boat lengths from the line. Pablo Arate helming the boat beautifully as they push the bow down, and there they go, take the win of the first 2017-18 Volvo In-Port Race. MAPFRE sponsored this In-Port Race, and boy, it is going to be great. Look, very happy about that, all on board. Well done, ladies and gentlemen, extremely good sailing. And as you say, it's about all of the detail. It's about the chemistry of the crew, the preparation, the shore operations, being able to, there you go, Paolo and Sophie just congratulating each other there at the back of the boat. Happy days. Second in, looks like Dongfeng Race Team have done a nice job. They were unspectacular off the starting line the first round or two, but they've just managed to chip away at it here, Sally.
Yeah, I think a few good decisions around the last two sets of marks, and then also I think they'll come quite even or close second in boat handling and speed and against MAPFRE at the moment. You know, the experience, we've been talking about it all day, it's going to show in a race like this. Chen Jinghao,
also called Horace, he's on board today for the Dongfeng team. The Dongfeng Auto Group sponsoring that team. That includes their trucks, their cars, and all sorts of other amazing stuff that they build there at the Dongfeng factories. Looking forward to going for a truck ride at some point. There we go, across the line, Dongfeng Race Team. Very good, nice. Get points for second place. And that was a hard-fought win for them. Right behind them, we've got Vestas 11th Hour Racing. Oh, look at that. Just crossing by a boat length or two over Team Brunel, and these two were absolutely neck and neck at the top mark, and it's been neck and neck all the way down. Do Vestas 11th Hour Racing have to do a final jibe before they get into the finish? Team Brunel are coming towards the finishing line on port. I think they've both got to do a jibe, but Vestas 11th Hour Racing look like they've got a decent bit of speed here.
Yeah, it looks like they're taking advantage of that left shift, so they'll be able to soak down into the finish. Maybe just do a quick jibe here at the end, and same with Brunel.
Good for them. Excellent. Well done, Vestas 11th Hour Racing. Charlie Enright, the skipper, and his long-time cohort and partner, Mark Towell. They were on the they were with Roy Disney on the Morning Light program over 10 years ago, as Team Brunel come down towards the finishing line, and Bauer Becking on his 8th Volvo Ocean Race. He's never won it. Is this going to be his moment? Finishing in 4th place in the first MAPFRE In-Port Race Alicante. Well done then. That Morning Light project, amazing, and that really has borne out this team, really.
It totally jump-started them, you know, got them hooked on offshore racing from the beginning, and that's what they've built on, which is amazing to have that experience from such an early stage. And, you know, they're young guys. They can do a lot more of these.
And Mark Towler's really embraced that opportunity of helping run the team and helping get all that together, and Charlie Enright being able to drive the boat. Two of them tight and wonderful. They've done a great job here, and they've got a great message with 11th Hour Racing about reusing, recycling, composting, and no single-use plastic water bottles. Across the finishing line, here is Sun Hun Kai Scallywag, based out of Hong Kong, with David Witt driving. I think he'll be okay with that. That is 5th place for Sun Hun Kai Scallywag. They were second in their practice race yesterday, but I think he'll be all right with that. They're certainly in the hunt, there or thereabouts. So they've had not a lot of practice in these Volvo Ocean 65 boats. And then behind them is Akzo Nobel, who crossed the finishing line. They've got quite the paint job, and that is because they're sponsored by an enormous Dutch paint company. Looking very good in their pink and blue. I'm sure there's a more appropriate colour, purple and blue, maybe, really. Well done to them. And we can see in pictures just right of screen. Clean Seas, Turn the Tide on Plastic, Dee Kafari. Quite the character, Dee. You sailed with her, always with a smile, but a great leader.
Yeah, great leader, great vibe, as she can really read people and build the team around what she needs. And like I said before, I think we're going to see some huge improvements as this team learns. They are very inexperienced but eager, and it's great that she's, you know, running the show.
Yeah, and Liz Wardley.
Liz Wardley was with us on SCA as well, with, you know, in boat captain role, and then later on the bow role, and I think she's, you know, taken that on again. So huge amount of experience, someone who's been working for the boatyard since the last race, learning the boats, the ins and outs. So
she's tough.
She is one tough woman, and she will push all the way to the end, and that's what you need. That's what you need on this kind of race.
There we go, Dee finishing right there, but they're all boats finishing within just within a minute or two of each other. Great sailing. Well done, Dee, finishing 7th on Clean Seas, Turn the Tide on Plastic, as they roll up their Code Zero. And the first in-port race, wonderful. MAPFRE In-Port Race, won by MAPFRE. It's going to be absolute bananas on the dock. In just a few moments, we're going to go down for the dock-in show here in Alicante, and I'd encourage anybody around and about who's watching, come on in next weekend. There'll be plenty of action as the boats leave for Lisbon on leg 1 of the 2017-18 Volvo Ocean Race. Let's go down on the water and see if we can talk to the skipper of the winning boat, Xavi Fernandez. Xavi, do you hear us? How are you?
Very well, thank you. Very well, very happy indeed.
Yeah, you must be happy. Again, another clean, cool, clinical performance.
Yes, the truth is that it hasn't been a very easy race, but you know, we took a little bit of the risk in the start, and very happy how Pablo really saw the gap in front of Brunel, and you know, we went for it, and then apart of that, everything went pretty well, really.
So we were talking specific tactics. You started on port, different from everybody else. Did you have a real goal to go to the right-hand side up the first beat?
Yes, that was pretty clear from Joan and Rob that they wanted to go left, hit the right in the first upwind, looking for more breeze. And you know, our intention was starting on port behind everyone. But then, as I said before, Pablo saw the gap himself when Brunel did a pretty poor tack, and they couldn't accelerate, so we went for the cross, and then we had plenty of room, and then again, once we hit the right, everything went very well.
Yeah, and you gave away 2-3 boat lengths because you wanted the right-hand side on the downwind as well. You tacked right at the top, and we couldn't understand why, but tell us.
Yes, again, we wanted the right-hand part of the course going upwind, and as I spoke, and as we debriefed yesterday after the practice race, we're not afraid of doing extra maneuvers with the Masker Zero, because I think we're pretty confident that they're good, and if we really want to go for the shift of pressure, we have to go for it, and that's why we went that way. No, the easiest would be just to keep going straight to the left, but really we had a strong call on board to go to tack and pay this a couple of boat lengths for having a bigger win later on.
Very good. And just talk to us a bit about Pablo. Pablo Arate sailed very well. You put him on the helm. Was that always the plan? And just talk to us about him.
Yeah, of course, Pablo. Well, I think we all know we have a very strong team, but Pablo is is one of our main drivers, and combining with having Rob very strong in the tactics with Blair and Joan, we really felt from the first meeting what best combinations. I think everyone could today. He's strong and he's not gonna get scared in any situation. That's why he's driving.
Thank you, Xavi. And just give us one word for your fans in Spanish and a quick summary in Spanish, please.
Bueno, hemos terminado ahora mismo la primera regata de esta Volvo Ocean Race. Todo empieza en una y bueno, pues cómo empezar mejor, ¿no? La verdad es que muy contento con el equipo, cómo ha ido todo. Desde una salida impecable que hemos salido a favor hacia el lado derecho donde creíamos que hacía más viento, como luego así ha sido. Luego la verdad es que toda la ha ido muy bien, muy contentos y nada, agradecer a todo el público. Como veis, muchos barcos aquí y bueno, pues ahora solo queda una semana para empezar la regata de verdad y espero que vaya todo bien. Muchas gracias a todos.
Muchas gracias, Xavi. Well done, congratulations. Okay, well, let's take a look at the scoreboard after the first MAPFRE In-Port Race Alicante. MAPFRE, Xavi Fernandez takes first spot, second spot to Dongfeng Race Team, third Vestas 11th Hour Racing, Charlie Enright, nice job. Fourth is Team Brunel, Bauer Becking, the skipper, Team Sun Hun Kai Scallywag with David Witt and Axel Nobel, and Turn the Tide on plastic in 7th place. Okay, let's have a look at some stats from that race. Here's a team comparison between MAPFRE and Dongfeng Race Team, first and second. So MAPFRE sailing nearly 500 meters less. Dongfeng doing one less maneuver. Average speed very similar indeed, and the VMG actually just a little better for the Dongfeng Race Team, and that may be why after their not such a good first upwind leg they were able to get back into the race. But those stats actually very similar, 413 meters. The difference probably really in its Sally distance sailed.
Yeah, and that's probably what we saw there at the finish. You know, I mean, I think you can really figure out there that the boats are going really well, that they're, you know, that they're coordinated, and maybe that right-hand shift was the name of the game, as Xavi said.
There we go, Rob Greenhalgh and Xavi Fernandez, Blair Chuk helping with those tactics, and Paolo Arate doing a great job of driving the boat for the win. Okay, over the next 9 months, we are going to be having plenty of import races. Don't miss the action. There are all sorts of ways to follow. You can do it on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. There we go, the Volvo Life at the Extreme, hashtag Life at the Extreme for your Instagram stuff, the Twitter at Volvo Ocean Race, and there's plenty of robust conversation online. David Witt there giving it the big okay and the thumbs up, and there is raw feed from on the boats. There's all sorts of actions from our OBR. Download it on the App Store in Google or Android. Pictures there from the castle here in Alicante. We've had an extremely good day, and the crowd has been full here in the Alicante village. It's been absolutely wonderful, and the result, right, MAPFRE take the win.